Distract them from the fact that you need them. Supposed to think about how else it could be. Oh, please. You wouldn't see me, still wouldn't believe me. Kill me on my sleep when nobody could hear me. Oh, we hate each other's deep fate, but is there any other option left? Are you keep on going, keep falling for your tricks? Just hand me that.
You say I make you nervous, a tragedy, I'm a beautiful disaster, a reckoning, you wonder how I got this way. You think I'm someone to be saved, someone to clean up and tame. Oh, some things never change, never change. You think I would look pretty on your arm once you cover up my bruises and battle scars, but it always ends the same. Can't bear the things I've had to face, got you crying on your knees in pain. Oh, some things never change, never change. You'll break your back to make me feel again, suffocate to make me breathe again, lose your mind from endless pain. Some things never change, never change. Redemption never came. I stopped asking for forgiveness, cause you should know only fools tread where the angels fear to go, but you keep trying to get too close. Save myself by turning into stone, so save your judgment cause you just don't know. But some things never change, never change. They say I should feel guilty and change my ways, leaving crumpled bodies in my wake. Swear I didn't mean to make them break, swear I didn't mean to make them break. But they're so delicate and so mundane, and they keep coming like a moth to a flame. Oh, some things never change, never change. You'll break your back to make me feel again, suffocate to make me breathe again.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are. Thank you so much for joining us for round 4 of season 17 of Odyssey Racing League GT Americas. But before we get to qualifying, let's go through a little bit of some housekeeping. So tonight, as on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, what we are tuning into right now is GT Americas. On Sundays at 7 p.m. Central European Standard Time, we do also run GT Europe. And Thursdays, right after GT Americas, we do have GT Americas After Hours, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, this is a 6-round series. We are at round 4. We are at the Paul Ricard. Little quick sneak peek of the rest of the season. Round 5 is going to be at Donington Park. And then round 6 at the amazing Spa-Francorchamps. A quick track map walkthrough of today's track. It is Circuit Paul Ricard. 15 turns. I believe 5 kilometers, 5.842 kilometers. We are going to be going clockwise today as well. Some of the major events held at Paul Ricard that make it one of the most famous tracks in the world. That does include the ELMS, or the European Le Mans Series, GT World Challenge Europe, as well as the FIM EWC, and the FFSA GT Series. Formula One used to run here for the French Grand Prix, but they decided to go with a different track. And have forgone Paul Ricard now. And I believe qualifying has begun, so let's get you right into the action. We are on board with the number 88 Aston Martin, driven by David Alicia. David in P3 overall for the rookies, tied actually, for P2 with Miguel Cizeron. Miguel in, I believe, the AMG. I do see him on the track. He is right there on the track, and I sit corrected. It is not the AMG. This time it is the Aston Martin. He is in the 999 Aston Martin in P2 overall, getting in a pretty quick time of a 157.012. Only 1.5, almost 0.2 of a second off of Ryan Bishop, the number 78 McLaren, who's in provisional pole 1 right now with the 156.865. Another rookie that we would like to keep an eye on is Miles Evie. Miles, I actually do not believe is here tonight, but he is in the lead right now for the rookies, 88 total championship points. But the only difference between the rookies leader and the I guess I was gonna say conglomerate of drivers, or the hodgepodge of drivers that are trying to fight for P2 and P3 behind him, there's only 2 or 3 points difference between them. So whoever wins tonight has to win definitively to increase their point distance from the rest of their competition. That is, of course, for the rookies that we are speaking about. Those are the red number plates that are in the background there on the left-hand side of your screen. And we do have a 15-minute qualifying round. It's going to be half and half for the rookies and half for the pros and AMs. I do believe I see the pros and AMs lining up, as we do see Miguel crossing the start-finish straight there. We do see the pros and AMs right there getting ready at the pit exit, waiting for that timer and that pit exit to open, or the timer to end and that pit exit to open, so that they can fan out and start their qualifying run. Miguel Cizeron moving up into the lead for the rookies here. However, a couple cars back, Lucas Souza almost up half a second on their delta. So if this is a valid lap, this is going to put them pretty in a pretty good position there. Might able to catch up to David Alicia there, who was able to get in front. The number 88 Aston Martin moving up into P6 now. So right now, your qualifying bar any crazy events, Souza moving up into P6, so able to get past the number 80 Evan and the number 88 Aston Martin. So bar none, it does look like Miguel Cizeron is going to be your pole sitter for the rookies. 156.112 for Miguel. Ryan Bishop not too far off, 156.125, so 200ths of a second, or excuse me, 1/100th of a second. Please let me know if I'm doing my math wrong there, because I believe my math is wrong. And P3 would be for Andres Espinosa with a 156.572. Unfortunately, the McLaren of Lucas does seem to be down on the Delta, which means that they are not going to be able to improve their time. By the looks of it, it does. I do. Is that? Do you all hear that? I do. That is the tires squealing and the engines rumbling of the pros and the AMs that have now barged their way onto the track to start their qualifying runs. So it does look like the rookies, if they did not start their qualifying run before the timer ended, they must return to their garage. So now we do see our pros and AMs out on the field on board with the number 81 Porsche driven by Phil Cryotheos. Cryotheos, not a great start to the season there. 56 total championship points for him. However, last race was able to get a much better finish, P4 for him overall, and P4 for the pros. So that amount of points is going to be very nice. It's going to feel very nice in the pockets getting those amount of points. However, still a big chunk of distance between him and the leaders of the Pro-Ams. Right now, the leader for your pros, Andrew Rados, 100 total points in the championship standings, followed by Zach Schneider, 84 total points, and then in P3, Chase Jones, who I believe they are out on track tonight, so it's going to be a bit of a doozy, especially last week, since last week was a rain race, and it was a huge curveball that some of these drivers are not used to. Especially with a slippery track and a track where you have to abuse the curbs like Watkins Glen. Very difficult to do when it's wet and slippery. Giving some love over to the number 756 Aston Martin, driven by Nicolas Menendez for Noobs Are Us. We have a couple of Aston Martin Noobs Are Us out on the track tonight. So we're going to be seeing this very stunning and colorful livery pass us multiple times here on the straight. Aston Martin, pretty decent on the straights. Not amazing compared to some other cars, say like the Ford or like the, I don't know, like the Nissan. However, I do believe it's going to be able to keep up with a lot of the cars in the corners and on the smaller straights here. So like in the straight at the beginning, the start-finish straight, Aston Martin will be able to keep up. If he gets a really good exit coming out of turn, I believe it's 9. excuse me, no, turn 7. So if you get a great exit coming out of turn 7, you'll definitely be able to get a really good straight down. Luke Lizama and the number 11 Ferrari taking that pole position and sitting there comfortably. Well, I might add 152.702 for Luke Lizama. Andrew Rados, your league leader, or your leader of the pro class, number 82 Honda in P2. 0.140 off. So 1/10 of a second, almost 2/10 of a second off. Zach Schneider in the number 15 Aston Martin in P3. 2 minutes in qualifying left, so that's going to give more than enough time for these drivers to improve on their times. We do see Josh Rodriguez in P11 overall. However, the number 93 Aston Martin is in the lead for the amateur drivers as of right now. As I do see a couple of cars improving their times. Andrew Rados, great looking delta there. So Andrew Rados we're going to keep an eye on the number 82 as he crosses the line, because that might be the podium position for the number 82, or for the number 82. Squirrely exit there, hitting those rumble strips. However, able to make it happen. 152.447 for Andrew Rados. So he squeaks on by Luke Lizama, putting a 2/10 cushion in between them as well. So that moves Andrew Rados up into pole position. Luke Lizama down into P2. Zach Schneider still stays in P3 comfortably. Chase Jones, the number 109 Aston Martin for Baller Squad Racing. P4 for Mr. Chase Jones. However, Chase Jones as well P3 in the overall standings for the season. Strong driving from Mr. Jones here. Was absent for the rain race, so it looks like the night race that we're going to have tonight is going to be where he's going to get his challenge. I don't believe he is serving a time penalty, or a time ballast, as I like to call it. I don't think he's serving a time ballast tonight, so he should be relatively okay strategy-wise. Nothing too crazy should come up for him. 2 minutes and 46 seconds left in the official overtime. As we do see Andrew Rados still at the top of the pole. Josh Rodriguez moving up into the lead for the amateur drivers now. The number 93 Aston Martin was beat, I believe, by Carl Banning, but he was able to take that back. Carl Banning moving up into P2, while Alex Cruz taking P3 for the silver drivers. That is Josh Rodriguez P10 overall, Carl Banning P11 overall, and Alex Cruz P12 overall. Pros and Ams going until the very last second. Chase Jones crossing over the line. Is this enough? It is not. Chase Jones staying in P6. Clayton Filsinger able to make a podium happen, as we do see a nice little Tokyo drift there from Mr. Chase Jones. Clayton Filsinger in the number 615 Lexus, able to move up into P3 as he crosses the start-finish straight and ending his official qualifying time. Does he move up anymore? He does not. Clayton Filsinger, P3. A couple of drivers left need to finish their qualifying time. Eiston in the number 121 Ferrari P10 crossing the line. Can he get any higher? Cannot. Eiston in P10. Dean Solomon crosses the line as well, not able to improve his time. Drew Jensen in the number 19 Ford Mustang elects to just finish a gentleman's finish. Just elects to go into the pits before the timer ends. And with that, that is the end of our official qualifying time. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back with the starting grid walk. And we are ready for the starting grid walk for round 4 of season 17 GT Americas. My name is Christian Julian. I go by Koju, and presenting your pole sitter in P1, the number 82 Honda, Andrew Rados. In P2, the number 11 Ferrari, driven by Luke Lizama for Odyssey Esports. In P3, the number 615 Lexus, driven by Clayton Filsinger. In P4, the number 756 Aston Martin, driven by Nicolas Menendez for Noobs R Us. In P5, sitting right next to him in the starting grid, Noobs R Us teammate Zach Schneider in the number 15 Aston Martin. Chase Jones, Baller Squad Racing, the number 109 Aston Martin P6. P7, Tom Grantham, the number 91 McLaren. In P8, Carl Banning, the number 987 BMW. P8 overall, however, your leader for the amateur drivers. P9, Phil Cryotheos, the number 81 Porsche for ORL Esports. Number 10, Austin Eiston, number 121 Ferrari. In P11, Josh Rodriguez for JR Red Bull, number 93 Aston Martin. In P12, Michael Moletta, number 72 McLaren. In P13, Dean Solomon, the number 59 Porsche for Backroad GT Racing. In P14, Alex Cruz, the number 12 Honda for BAM Racing. P15, Rob Abrorchta, the number 331 BMW for Goral Motorsports. The yellow with the blue Mohawk stripe. Kemal Kazicevich. I'm gonna try this name, and if I get it wrong, I'm sorry. Kemal Kazicevich. I'm just gonna call you Kemal. All right, Kemal. The number 727 Honda for Darth Kamal Racing. Kamal, please message me in the Discord and tell me how bad that was. I'm so sorry. In P17, Drew Jensen for DJ Motorsports. In P18, Justin Moffat for Crazy Rabbits Racing in the Bentley. In P19, Miguel Cizeron, the 999 Aston Martin. P19 overall, however, your leader for the rookies tonight. In P20, Ryan Bishop, the number 78 McLaren. P21, Andres Espinosa for KF Racing Team. P22, Robbie Sort of Asian P23, Tim, gargle some water, the number 660 McLaren. And with that as well, that is your stretch check and your hydration check. So go out and get a sip of water if you haven't already. It's about that time. Anthony Lombardo, the number 256 McLaren in P24. Starting right behind them, Shane Sullivan, the number 617 Ford Mustang. The nice golf-inspired livery. David Alicia for Noobs Are Us, the number 88 Aston Martin. P27, Ryan Chanley, the number 67 Aston Martin for C7 Racing with the camel Turkish Royal livery there. P28, Lucas Souza, number 95 McLaren. In P29, Gavin Camber for Gavman Racing, number 36 Aston Martin. To round off your top 30, John Malot, number 85 Nissan. For the Orel Zilla Nissan, to be exact. I like how John is adding onto the Zilla universe, the Orel Zilla universe. Thank you, John, for continuing that. Adam Norhalim for 21 Autosports, number 574 Ford Mustang in P31. P32, Nicholas Woods with the Miku Meme Dream Racing Team Nissan. In P33, Inez Spector. In P34, Joe Ligioso, the number 951 at McLaren. For Wreckham Race Team. P35, Robert Logan. Number 83, Porsche. And last but not least, Patrick Nadeau, who's starting from the pits tonight for Ches Racing. So a pretty big grid tonight, 37 cars by my guesstimation. Again, I do apologize for the terrible pronunciation of the names and my terrible math skills. You will see my education come into play there, because I did not do well at math. So going through the last couple of turns here, the drivers are going to be lining up side by side. I was going to say single file side by side, but that doesn't make sense. We're going to see them line up side by side in anticipation for the green flag and the start of round 4, season 17. Going to be keeping an eye on the whole grid here, as the first couple of turns are a doozy. And it's going to be pretty dark there for the drivers. We have it set for us so that we can see a lot better than they can, but the track is a little bit darker towards the intersection. So we are going to be praying to not see anything crazy happen, as we do see the drivers line up side by side, waiting for those red lights up there to turn green and to show us the start of season 17, round 4. There it is, the green flag, the green light, go, go, go. And a great start for Andrew Rados, who's able to get away past Luke Lizama, who cuts off Clayton Filsinger so that his teammate is not able to get a good run. Side by side, coming into turn 1 now, we do see a couple of the drivers losing positions, as we do see, a great move by the number 59 Porsche there in Dean Solomon, able to get a couple of spots. Rob Abrorchta making sure that does not go unpunished. Chase Jones still keeping up with the rest of the pack. A couple of hits happening in the back. It looks like the number 95 is off. So unfortunately, that is the number 95 who took a little bit of a hit there. Robbie's sort of Asian, as well as we do see a big, decent pile up there in the middle there. Couple of drivers getting hit. That's the number 256. That's the number 396. The number 67. The number 59. The number 78. Oh, that's a little bit of a doozy there in the middle, but Phil Cryotheos with his eyes set forward on Carl Banning in that BMW in front of him, coming down the straight. Is he able to get a good run along the inside? Phil Cryotheos goes, as he's able to get maybe a double slipstream there, catching up to Tom Grantham. Is he going to make a move on the inside? He is. He's going to make sure that Carl Banning has to go around the outside as they hit the really fast right-hander that comes at the end of the long straight there at the top of our track map. Looks like everything has settled down once we started getting a couple of turns in and these tires started warming up. Remember, racing fans, cold tires, cold brakes, cold brains at the beginning of the race. So you always want to take it easy. You'll never win the race on the first turn, on the first lap, turn one, lap one, or lap one, turn one, however you want to say it, unless you're Max Verstappen. But that's an outlier. We don't talk about that. What Max did at Imola in turn one. That's wow. Okay. Other than that, though, another wow. Chase Jones in P5, the number 109 Aston Martin, on the back bumper of Zach Schneider. Both drivers with 10-second time penalties. So that's going to be affecting their pit stops and potentially moving them down spots. And we're going to see if that 15 seconds that Andrew Rados has from winning will affect him at all tonight. Andrew Rados did win round 1 and round 3. He is leading right now. Luke Lizama not too far off of him, though. Less than a second between all top 4 drivers, except Chase Jones, who we are on board with right now, trying to get that slipstream on the Aston Martin in front of him to catch up and hopefully make that podium fight. Oh, and it looks like Eyston may have gone off the track. The number 121 Ferrari losing a decent amount of spots. That's about 5 spots there. So might have taken a tumble on the exit of the fast right-hander. On board right now with Miguel Cizeron, the 999 Aston Martin in P20 overall. Miguel Cizeron coming off his maiden win last week in the rain for round 3. Comfortably taking the title of Rainmeister for the season. Anybody that wins a rain race is a Rainmeister in my book. Rain racing is arguably, in my opinion, way tougher than night racing. Oh, we weren't able to catch it, but it did look like Gavin was able to make up a spot. He gained a spot, but then he lost a couple there coming out of the exit of turn, I believe that's 4. Yes, turns 4 and 5, which ends up being that slow hairpin there at the bottom of our screen. Which for some cars, it's a little bit more difficult than it seems. Tom Grantham trying to catch up to Carl Banning there in the BMW in front of him. But Carl able to keep the grip along the outside with that BMW and tippy-toe his way back into P8. Oh, that's... We had a runaway cone there in the middle of the track. Who put that there? Hey, cones don't go there. Dean Solomon up into P21 now. Is that another cone? Where are all these cones coming from? That was a cone, yeah. So we do have a car coming out of the pits, waiting for the traffic. Adam Norhelim on the back bumper of that Ferrari, driven by Andres Espinosa. Andres looks like he did take a little bit of a hit, because I am seeing a caution flag on him. So maybe he did have some contact with some of the drivers behind them. A nice train there of all these cars fighting for position. The 331 BMW, I believe that's the blue and yellow of Robert Rochta, making a move along the inside, making Adam Norhelim fight for all he's got. Robert Rochta with the drive-through, however, so that's going to be making this fight a little bit interesting, as the Ford Mustang, in my opinion, has so much more power and straight line speed compared to the BMW. So the Ford is going to get a lot better, especially with that toe that it gets. Is it going to be able to make it coming into the turn in like 80 meters or so? Robert Rochta, though. Oh, yeah, no, Robert Rochta going way too wide. I was going to say that was a great thought process and defensive move by Robert Rochta, but unfortunately went a little bit too deep. And once you go too deep in that corner, especially at that speed, you're not going to be able to make that turn. But who was able to make that turn? The bright green Bentley, the 223 Bentley of Joe. And there's a big, that's a lot of damage. Unfortunately, Adam Norhelim taking a big chunk out of the back bumper of the bright green Bentley, as we see the Ford Mustang kick some cones in anger there. Unfortunately, eating a little bit too much of that back bumper. Then Adam slows down, and then unfortunately gets hit from behind as well, almost clipping the car in front of him, that white Porsche, getting away barely. That's the Porsche of Robert Logan. So let's see if we can get a better view of that incident here. So coming into the turn, we see the Ford along the outside makes a turn, turns a little too early, bangs doors with the green, with the bright green car, yeah, and just digs a little bit too deep in there, tries to save the car, unfortunately with not so great of a rejoin, and it door bangs again with the car behind them. Off our screen, we did not see it, but now we are going to be seeing the fruit of labor here. Dean Solomon moving up into P17 now, getting past Miguel Cizeron. Now onto the long back straight here. Oh, that's a sideways Aston Martin. I believe that's the Aston Martin of Miguel Cizeron. A great save, though, able to keep that from spinning and able to get back on track safely. Great save by Miguel Cizeron. Robbie sort of Asian, using all 10 cylinders of the Lamborghini Huracan that he is driving, trying to get past. Oh, I apologize. Audio issues. Okay, we are back, racing fans. Robbie sort of Asian along the inside, makes it stick relatively clean, able to get away now. Aston Martin's at the top of our tree, fighting it. Jones able to slip away there. The number 109 Aston Martin. able to use all of that engine power there. Even though it's in the same machinery as the car behind him, Zach Schneider, also in the Aston Martin, 15 Aston Martin to be exact, trying to fight their way up into the podium spots by being held back by Clayton Filsinger, the number 615 Lexus. Andrew Rados still sitting at the top in the lead, the number 82 Honda, followed by Luke Lazama, the number 11 Ferrari. Now, we do have a mandatory pit stop here at Odyssey Racing League, so the drivers are going to have to enter the pits when that pit window does open up. Fuel is required, tires are not required, so it's going to be depending on the strategy that the drivers choose tonight. And we're going to be seeing if any of them decide to change their tires. Normally here at Paul Ricard, I don't believe you change your tires if it's like an hour or less. And since it is nighttime, you are going to be able to not use all of your tire in the sense that your tire won't degrade as much because the temperatures are a lot lower at night than they are during the day. So those colder temperatures are going to be able to keep the life of the tires a little bit longer. So foregoing the tire change might be the correct strategy for tonight. However, that is what separates the good drivers from the great drivers, is them being able to calculate all that information on the fly. Robbie sort of Asian trying to use that draft to his advantage. However, the big back bumper of the Bentley making sure that that Robbie sort of Asian works as much as they can. Justin Moffat in the light green, not light green, it'd be like a lime green, neon green Bentley there, as wide as possible coming out of that turn. Great defensive move. Robbie will not have a lot of time to just sit around and wait and think about their next move, because they do have David Alicia right behind him in the number 88 Aston Martin. So sometimes if you wait too long to make a move, another driver is just going to end up making that move for you. And instead of potentially gaining a spot, you might be losing one or two. Speaking about gaining spots, Robert Logan almost able to take that spot away from Dean Solomon coming out of the exit of turn 1. However, the number 59 Porsche able to outspeed the number 83 counterpart there. Chase Jones less than half a second behind Clayton Filsinger. Clayton in the Lexus able to make the V8 of that car scream. Chase Jones going a little bit too deep out of that turn, however able to make it stick, get some traction right at the exit and stay on track so that they won't be losing that position to Zach Snyder behind them. More battles happening around. Number 93 Aston Martin catching up to Carl Banning and the number 987 BMW coming out of the last couple of turns now. This is turns 12 and 13, I believe. With the pit window open as well, we might see a couple of drivers try to go into the pits early, as we do see Josh Rodriguez keeping an eye on the inside, maybe sticking his nose in there trying to trick Carl Banning, but Carl, as tough as a rock, not moving from the position that they elected to take and staying ahead. Looks like nobody has entered the pits yet, so this may be a late call for pit entry for most of these drivers. Clayton Pilsinger trying to defend his podium position from Chase Jones in the number 109 Aston Martin. A pretty good slipstream coming into the end of the back straight. Is Chase Jones able to make a move or make Clayton Pilsinger think he's going to make a move? No, both cars elect to take the same racing line, run right behind the other. As we are going to be seeing these cars fight. Bolt and tire hub. Tire to tire, bolt to bolt, fender to fender, until the bitter end. Nice little train of cars there, all getting a very good slipstream. See them there coming over. Skirt, skirt. 15-second time penalty handed out to the number 78. And that is the McLaren of Ryan Bishop. So unfortunately, a 15-second time penalty that they will have to serve during their pit stop. I do see the number 7 off the track. Wonder what happened to the number 7 there. Let's see if we can get a quick replay of the number 7. So this is the Nissan of Nicholas, yes. So I do see him come over the exit. And, oh, unfortunately, oh, okay. So that was the number 7 Nissan of Nicholas Woods, unfortunately getting a little bit of that torque oversteer that you get in the Nissan GTR. Pretty powerful beast of a machine, I might add, I might say. In the lower gears, if you hit the rev limiter a little bit too much, you'll get what's called torque oversteer. That engine just works overtime and just snaps your car over. So unfortunately, Nicholas losing traction coming out of that turn, which gave him a squirrely back end, and it looked like the BMW. It looked like a BMW if I sit corrected or if I am correct. Just did not expect him to lose there, and ended up just smashing him from behind. So that's very unfortunate for both drivers there, as that may have given Nicholas some extra pit time to repair damage, if any, there. Patrick Nadeu in the number 112 Lamborghini. Drag racing the McLaren in front of him. That's the McLaren of Ryan Bishop. However, not able to make it. Both mid-engine cars very, very agile through the turns here at Paul Ricard. Pretty quick, I might add, on the straight as well. I am super partial to the Lamborghini because it's the best car. And oh, that's not the best thing to happen though. Rolling backwards, potentially a bad exit. Patrick Nadu, the number 112 Lamborghini, rejoining the race after a bump with that other vehicle there. That was a very interesting set of events. Let's see if we can get a better visual of that. So we do have Patrick in the number 112 Lamborghini in the back, and we do have Ryan Bishop in the front. Both cars coming out of the turns, coming into the braking zone. The number 8. Oh, okay. That is what I believe is called the Vortex of Doom, or the Vortex of Death. There are many names for it. As we do see Andres Espinosa overtaking the Ford Mustang of Drew Jensen there. As the saying goes, if you no longer go for a gap that doesn't exist, you're not a race car driver. And we saw that We saw that verbatim right there. Checking in on your leader of the race so far, Andrew Rados, the number 82 Honda. Fastest time on the track as well, 153.160 for Andrew Rados. Luke Lezama, the number 11 Ferrari, not too far off, about 3 seconds behind Andrew. And Clayton Filsinger about 5 seconds behind Luke Lezama to hold on to that podium spot. However, he does have a very hungry Chase Jones in number 109 Aston Martin right behind him, bumper to bumper, almost bump drafting if you want to say that. However, a great draft there by the Aston Martin side by side. Both drivers go along the straight. Who's gonna take it? Nobody knows until we get to the end. The Aston Martin giving up the position to get behind there on the racing line so that both cars can make it there. As I believe, see the number 67 going off track. So that's going to be a yellow flag for that sector, excuse me. A daring move made on the inside by Chase Jones, able to make it stick. He does maybe. However, a great exit by the number 615 Lexus, driven by Clayton Filsinger there, side by side, coming down turn 1. Who wants it more? Clayton Filsinger able to edge it out and get in front of the number 109. So a daring move made on the last turn there by Chase Jones, able to take and taste the podium spot for mere seconds before the Lexus just said, nope, I want that spot back, and is able to out-drag the Aston Martin there on the front mini straight, or the start-finish straight there. On board with the number 615 Lexus. That Aston Martin in the slipstream, with another Aston Martin behind them in the slipstream, with another Aston Martin behind them a little bit farther back in the slipstream. It is an Aston Martin slipstream behind them. As we do see, almost bumper to bumper along the inside. Who wants it more? Are they gonna touch? They're not. Space being given, however, it is tough space. The number 109 Aston Martin in front now. Clayton Filsinger and the 615 still trying to fight along the inside now. There's a third car joining the fight now. That is Zach Schneider in the number 15 Aston Martin, tasting blood in the water and trying to join the fight. The number 615 Clayton Filsinger losing the podium position now to Chase Jones, who's moving up into P3. So now the Lexus is gonna have to defend against all of the Zach Schneider, and having to attack Chase Jones while going through the traffic of the rest of the drivers around them along the last turn. The blue flag there for the rest of the drivers to let them know that the leaders are passing through the start-finish straight along the right side of the start. The leaders are coming into turn 1. We do see some traffic in the middle, so that's going to be causing a wedge in the battle between Clayton Filsinger and Zach Schneider. However, the battle between Clayton Filsinger and Chase Jones still going on, as we do get a little bit of a breather, and we see that some of the cars are giving way with the blue of the blue flag. However, I don't also see any cars in the pits either, so that's going to be pushing the pit window or the pit strategy further down the road. 19 minutes, 22 seconds left in the mandatory pit stop. 15-second time penalty handed out to the number 112. how the turns tabled. Clayton Filsinger now in P4, attacking Chase Jones in P3, trying to get back on the podium, the number 615 Lexus in the beautiful Odyssey Racing League livery, the orange and blue. Speaking of Odyssey Racing League, you can join us at discord.gg/Odyssey Racing League. There you can find out more information and keep up to date, and even contact us about any of our racing leagues, GT Americas, GT Europe, and maybe our new iRacing division. If you're interested in iRacing, maybe. You can go ahead and find us there at discord.gg/Odyssey Racing League. Tom Grantham, the number 91 McLaren, on the back bumper of Michael Moletta. Both cars trying to use as much of the track as possible coming into the hard braking zone of turn 1s and coming out of the exits of turns 2. No, Forza Abdul, we love you. You see our race leader, Andrew Rados, electing to pit early. 17 minutes left in the pit window. However, Andrew Rados finishing their pit stop now and exiting the pits, moving down all the way to P14, if not like P16 or P17. We do see a yellow flag for the number 7. So that's going to be a yellow flag for that sector, so everyone's going to have to slow down. But it's going to be very interesting to see where Andrew Rados is going to be finishing off, because he did have to serve a 15-second time success penalty for winning the last round and claiming the title of Rainmeister for the pros. Andres Espinosa, your leader for the rookies. P13 overall, the number 27 Ferrari for KF Racing Team. I also believe that is the flag from Chile. So a quick shout out to all my Chilean people. Bienvenidos. Andres Espinosa entering the tiny pit lane entrance and getting into pit row to get that mandatory pit stop done. Anthony Lombardo moving up a spot, as we do see that is the McLaren of Tim Gargos from Water as well, going into the pits, getting that mandatory pit stop done. I believe that is one of the Aston Martins. Oh, as we do have a backwards car. That's the number 7. Unfortunately, facing the wrong way, maybe with the extensive damage. And causing an extended yellow flag. Looking back up, your new race leader, Luke Lozano, the number 11 Ferrari for Odyssey Esports, in the lead right now. A sizable lead, 6 seconds in front of Chase Jones, who's in P2. Clayton Filsinger, who was in P2, has entered the pits, so now he's going to be getting his necessary fuel required, but that does move him down into P5 overall right now. So that's going to be moving Chase Jones up into P2. Zach Schneider up on the podium, P3 now. Phil Cryotheos in P4, and Carl Banning in P5 to round off your top 5. Clayton Filsinger as well as Alex Cruz have entered the pits, followed by Josh Rodriguez. So they are all in the pit lane getting their necessary fuel to end the race. It is going to be changing things up quite a bit. Easton also in the pits. So that is going to be shaking up the top standings as well. Joe Ligioso in the pits, as we do see some traffic coming out now. Justin Moffat moving up into P9, the number 223. Neon Green Bentley going side by side with the McLaren and that Honda there. However, we do see the Lexus in the back. That's the Lexus of Clayton Filsinger, trying to carve his way through the traffic. Trying to take the coveted title of overtaking Oracle. However, we are going to be waiting until the end, or towards the end, once everybody's done with their pit stops, to see who does take the title of overtaking Oracle for tonight. We will also as well be checking whoever's making the most money moves, as we do see a drag race between Clayton Filsinger and Justin Moffat. Clayton Filsinger along the inside, able to make it stick and getting in front of the silver driver. Clayton Filsinger in the Lexus, able to outspeed that Bentley. A little bit farther back, Tom Grantham on the back bumper of the Aston Martin in front of him, driven by David Alicia. David along the inside, or excuse me, along the left side where the racing line is, able to keep up that top speed and make that McLaren go wide. McLaren did look like the McLaren of Tom did look like he was trying to go for a switchback, and it does stick. So the number 91 is moving up a spot into P15. Luke Lizama, Chase Jones entering the pits now. Luke Lizama out of the pits, coming out of the first couple turns. Staying in P3, Zach Schneider, your new race leader, the number 15 Aston Martin, with a 10-second time penalty, success time penalty as well. Chase Jones in the pits serving their success time penalty. A couple of drivers still have to do their pit stops. However, most drivers have elected to finish that already with around 10 minutes 54 seconds left. So the pit entrance and exit here at Paul Ricard is, I don't want to say the worst ever, but it's really bad. The entrance is, as soon as you take the final turn, it's right there. There is no like extra space for you to slow down. You have to slow down right away and get into the entrance. And then the exit, once you exit pit lane, the exit comes off right on the racing line. So it's so, I don't want to say it upsets me, but it makes me feel some kind of way. I'll say that. Easton also feeling some kind of way in P14 for Easton, right on the back bumper of Dean Solomon, making that Porsche sweat, trying to make a move along the inside. A big bump. The number 121 tried to go where he probably shouldn't belong, and he spun around himself and Dean Solomon, so both cars are going to be losing some spots there. And Dean Solomon probably not too happy about that move being made along the inside. Was Easton enough alongside to be granted space, or was that a dive bomb? I don't know. We will let the stewards decide. Drew Jensen, though, trying to make him fight for his life, even after getting bruised and battered and beaten there in that corner and turned around. Probably a slight concussion for the Ferrari, however, able to keep up with the Ford Mustang of Drew Jensen, but letting them pass. So Drew Jensen moving up into P14. We do have a new race leader now, Phil Cryotheos, the number 81 Porsche in the lead. Still does have to take their pit stop, but they do have a pretty good lead right now entering the pit lane. That is the number 81 Porsche going into the pit, so we're going to be keeping an eye on them and where the number 11 is to see who comes out in the lead. However, it does look like a sizable lead for the number 81, as we do see the rest of the, basically almost every other driver has finished their pit stop. We only have David Alicia, who's also in the pits, completing their pit stop, and I do see John Milo also in the pit. So that is going to be the rest of the drivers. Sean Sullivan, still in the 617 Ford Mustang, has to complete their pit stop. But they do have 7 minutes and 55 seconds. We do have also Chase Jones, the number 29, or the number 109, in P29 right now. Still has not completed their pit stop either. So it may look like that Chase Jones was involved in an accident because he was in the pits. I do see that there is a timer for him in the pits. However, it does not complete the mandatory pit stop. Your new race leader, Luke Lozama, was able to pass Phil Cryotheos in the pits, who was having trouble there getting up to speed. So your new race leader, Luke Lozama, the number 11 Ferrari, with a 6.5 to 7 second lead in front of Clayton Filsinger in P2, the number 615 Lexus. Andrew Rados with the fastest time on track with that 15-second success ballast, making its, not debut, but making its presence known, moving him into P3 now. Andrew Rados leading for most of the race. However, after all the pit stops and all of the time penalties, or the success penalties completed, now in P3. The Porsche of Dean Solomon trying to fight Drew Jensen for that P14 spot, but also trying to keep the McLaren of John Liggioso behind them. The Ford Mustang electing to go along the outside, trying to get a better run and exit out of there. Maybe getting it done. Dean Solomon in the slipstream now. We'll see if that Porsche can catch up. As we do see Joe waiting a little bit farther back, maybe hoping to see if anybody in front of him makes a mistake. A little bit of a squirrely exit there, but along the inside, the number 59 Porsche is trying to make that move stick. Is it going to happen? The number 19 Ford Mustang almost going door to door there, making sure that they are going to have to fight for all of that space. The Porsche out in front now. Dean Solomon with a commanding move, able to get it past those turns. That Porsche just takes turns so well compared to most of the cars, especially the Ford even. However, the Ford, in my opinion, much better along these straights. Joe Liggioso trying to stick his nose in there. However, not able to get past Dean Solomon. We do see some blue flags flying for the drivers here that on our screen. David Alicia and Miguel Cizeron fighting for position. However, they do have the Lexus, the blue flag Lexus, excuse me, of Clayton Filsinger right behind them. So they will have to make way within 2 sectors as per our rules here at Odyssey Racing League. As we do see both drivers give ample space. So this is Josh Rodriguez on our screen, the number 93 Aston Martin, fighting his way through traffic, trying to catch back up to Andres Espinosa in the Ferrari in front of him. Andres, your leader for the rookie drivers, or the red number plates. P10 for Andres Espinosa, which is a great overall showing for the number 27 driver. Not too far back, though, a couple of cars. Dean Solomon fighting with Joe Ligioso. Joe in the number 951 McLaren, almost biting off more than he could chew there. Almost taking that back left quarter panel off of Dean Solomon's car. However, able to save that squirrely exit there and get back on track. Another squirrely incident happening between Joe and now it looks like the Ford Mustang of Drew Jensen, the number 19 Ford Mustang to be exact. Almost getting into some contact there as they continue their battle. And by they, I mean Drew Jensen and Justin Moffat, as we did see them battling there. Joe Ligioso still trying to catch up now and get back into the fight. Drew Jensen going a little too deep, unfortunately, and having to cede that position to the number 223 Bentley, driven by Justin Moffat. Justin now in P15. Josh Rodriguez still keeping his eyes forward on the back bumper of that Ferrari in front of him, driven by Andres Espinosa. Less than 0.2 seconds between them. Josh trying to get a really good run along the inside. Excuse me, along the outside of that first turn, but along the inside of this next turn, which will unfortunately make him, which will fortunately set up a switchback coming into the next couple of turns. This is going to give Josh the position that he needs with the most grip. However, it's almost 3 wide coming into this next turn for the start, for the back straight. The Ferrari of Andres Espinosa getting a much better exit now. So now it's going to be a triple train here coming into the back right, to the back fast right-hander there. Carl Banning getting a really nice slipstream coming alongside Josh Rodriguez, who wants it more, the BMW or the Aston Martin, as they try to catch up to the Ferrari and suck up as much slipstream as they can. Josh Rodriguez electing to stay along the racing line, making the BMW go along the inside. However, that may have been too far outside for Josh Rodriguez, who's now going to have to cede the position to the BMW of Carl Banning, who was able to take it. However, Carl Banning now in the next turn goes a little bit too far wide, getting pushed out by Josh Rodriguez, fighting for the position as much as he can. The Aston Martin is not letting it go. Switchback after switchback, both drivers not letting that position go without a fight. Excellent driving by this pack of drivers here fighting for position. With only 14 minutes left in the race, oh my goodness. Anything can happen. On board with Carl Banning, the number 987 BMW. We can see in the rearview mirror in the back, we can see the Aston Martin playing a little bit there, almost going a little too deep and taking the back bumper of the BMW. Carl Banning almost eating the back bumper of the Ferrari in front of him. Ooh, a little bit of an accordion effect there coming from all three of the drivers trying to stay out on track with as much grip as possible. We can see them trying to get a great exit, but a little bit squirrely coming out of the BMW and Carl Banning. Let's see how far back just Josh is now. Unfortunately, that does push Josh back about a second. So that may push him out of slipstream range. However, Carl Banning still within slipstream of Andres Espinosa in front of him. Interesting turn of events in these past couple of turns. And as I said, as long as the timer is not all zeros, anything can happen in the race. A potential switchback now. Door to door on the exit. Off track, the number 987 goes. And may have to give that position up depending on how the stewards feel about that. We do see the Aston Martin of Josh Rodriguez still inserting himself into the battle, trying to show that he is not leaving. And he will stay in the fight as long as possible. Along the inside, the Ferrari tries to make a daring move. The number 27 makes it stick. The BMW gets held back and unfortunately slows them down enough and makes... is that going to give Josh Rodriguez enough time, space, and speed to get past him? No, he doesn't. So the BMW, unfortunately, loses one spot, but fortunately, doesn't lose two. Moving up a little bit, Andrew Rados in the number 82 Honda, your race leader for most of the race until the pit stops that happened with the success ballasts that the drivers were handed out. So the number 82 now in P3, still the fastest time on track for them, 153.497. That is valid time. Luke Lizama, your race leader, however, the number 11 with a 153.322, however, that was not valid. However, 11 minutes left to go in the race. Bar any crazy exceptions, this will be the maiden win for Luke Lizama and give him a decent chunk of championship points to keep in his purse for the rest of the season. After this round 4, there are 2 more rounds. We'll have rounds 5 and round 6, and that is the end of season 17 after that. But something that is not ending is the race on our screen. A nice little slipstream given to Luke Lizama by the Lamborghini there, driven by Robbie Sword of Asian. Blue flag out there on the track. So we're going to be seeing drivers carefully give their position. Going back to Luke Lizama, excuse me, bar anything, this will be his maiden victory. His first win of season 17. Andrew Rados, your overall leader for the championship and winner of rounds 1 and 3, will most probably have to wait until the next round to see if he can take the overall victory and the checkered flag. On board with the number 81 Porsche, driven by Phil Cryotheos. P5 overall. Number 81 Porsche. Relatively strong showing tonight. Phil Cryotheos, not a great start to the season, unfortunately being caught up in some incidents in the first couple of rounds. in his defense, not his fault that the incidents occurred. He's just unfortunately part of the pile up and cleanup crew that happens after those incidents happen. However, as the season progresses, getting stronger and stronger, Phil Carltheos showing that he may be down, but he's not out. And that it's not about how you start the season, it's about how you end the season. Sebastian Cazada in the number 396 Ferrari, using the slipstream given to him by Robert Rochta in the 231 BMW, trying to get past. Along the left side he goes, under the paulricard.com banner. Sebastian Cazada makes the move stick along the right, the fast right-hander, and able to move up into P16 now. The number 396 Ferrari, great move. Moving up a little bit though, Dean Solomon still on the back bumper of Josh Rodriguez, who's able to get in front of him a little bit. However, that Porsche is trying to stay as close as they can. 5 minutes, 57 seconds left in the race. Still 11 degrees on track, 11 degrees ambient temperature. It is midnight, or 2 minutes past midnight here for the drivers. So for us, we do see a little bit brighter on the track. However, for them, it is pretty dark. Anthony Lombardo for Visual Simsport, the 256 McLaren, trying to catch up to Patrick Nadeau. Fourth position along the outside, a little bit of some bumping and bruising. However, Anthony Lombardo able to get past Patrick. A little bit of a tank slapper there. However, other than that, relatively clean. Racing fans, you are watching Season 17, Round 4 of GT Americas, presented by Odyssey Racing League. 3 minutes, 45 seconds left in our official race time here on board with the number 331 BMW, driven by Rob Rochta for Goral Motorsports. Rob fighting that white Ferrari in front of him. That's a 396 Ferrari to be exact, driven by Sebastian Quesada. This is a fight for position, as we do see a change of leadership unfortunately happening. Luke Lizama was in the lead and now has disappeared, so it does look like Luke Lizama had to retire due to technical difficulties. So we do know we have a new race leader, Clayton Filsinger, in the number 615 Lexus, in the lead now with 3 minutes left to go. And with a 6-second lead in front of P2, Andrew Rados, who has a 8-second cushion in front of, behind him, or between him and Nicolas Menendez. It's the battle of the Ryans. Ryan Chanley versus Ryan Bishop. Both Ryans coming out of the ending of the back straight. Coming into the left-hander. It does look like Ryan Chanley in front now, taking the position away from Ryan Bishop. So 1 minute, 50 seconds left in our official race time, as we do see the number 615 crossing the finish line. So that does appear to be the white flag, and that is the final lap for our leader. And since this is our final lap, I would like to go quickly to one of my favorite segments here at Odyssey Racing League, and I like to call this one Money Makers and Money Donators. So tonight, our money makers are the drivers that have gained the most positions in the race, and our money donators are our drivers that have lost the most positions in the race tonight. So unfortunately, the title of Money Donator will be handed out to the number 109, driven by Chase Jones. Unfortunately, losing 20 spots tonight, and starting in P6, right now in P26. And our moneymaker for tonight is going to be given to Mr. Sebastian Quesada. In P15 right now, started P37, so that is 22 spots gained. So congratulations to you, Sebastian. You are the moneymaker of the night. We are keeping an eye on the race leader, who's coming out of the second sector and into the final sector, but we're going to be also keeping an eye on the battles happening here on the track. The number 93, Aston Martin, on the back bumper still of Andres Espinosa, who is your leader for the rookies as they come over the last turn. Is this the final lap for them? I don't think it is. Yep, so it's going to be one more lap for them, as we see Andres Espinosa, bar anything happening crazy for the rest of this race, will be your winner. However, speaking of winners, crossing the final turn, the number 615 Lexus, driven by Clayton Filsinger, taking the checkered flag and winning round 4 of Odyssey Racing League GT Europe Season 17. Congratulations to your winner, Clayton Filsinger. Not too far off, Andrew Rados, the number 82 Honda in P2. And Nicolas Menendez to round off your podium, P3 for Nicolas Menendez for Noobs R Us. Congratulations. P4, Phil Cryotheos. A great finish for Phil here. And P5 to round off your top 5, Zach Schneider for Noobs R Us, number 15, Aston Martin. Moving over to the potential winner for your silver drivers, as we keep an eye on the rest of the track. We do see Joe Ligioso finishing off in P18, David Alicia P19, Miguel Cizeron P20. Michael Moletta, the number 72 McLaren, passing the last turn and about to take the checkered flag in P7 overall, except winning for the amateur drivers. So your silver driver winner and still in the lead for the silver championship, Michael Moletta. Congratulations to Michael. Carl Banning, P2 for the silvers. Alex Cruz, P3. As we do see also Andres Espinosa for KF Racing Team crossing the checkered flag and taking the victory for the rookie drivers. The number 27 Ferrari, your winner for the rookies. And with that, that is the end of round 4 of Season 17 GT Americas, presented by Odyssey Racing League. Your winner, Clayton Filsinger, the number 615 Lexus, followed by Andrew Rados, the number 82 Honda, and Nicolas Menendez, the number 756 Aston Martin, to round off your podium. Congratulations to our race winners tonight, our podium winners overall, and our race winners for the pros, the AMs, and the rookies. Your pro winner, Clayton Filsinger, the number 615 Lexus. Your silver driver winner, your amateur driver, Michael Moletta, the number 72 McLaren. And your rookie winner, Andres Espinosa, the number 27 Ferrari. Congratulations to you three. Excellent racing tonight. And if you too would like to join us for some excellent racing, you can find us at discord.gg/Odyssey Racing League. You can also find us and follow us here on YouTube, youtube.com/Odyssey Racing League. Go ahead and give us a like, follow, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live next time for our next race. That's going to be it from us here in the broadcast booth. Please join us Sunday, 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time for GT Europe. I hope to see you there. My name is Christian Julian. I go by Koju, and on behalf of Odyssey Racing League, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking